Hey everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. This time, we are taking a look at iRacing's Season 2 2025 update. They just released their February development update, and we're here to go through all the need-to-know info before you get out there and hit the track.
Yeah, it's actually a pretty big update this time. I mean, they always have new content every season, but this time they're also sort of setting the stage for, some really big changes coming down the road.
Oh, okay, cool. Well, let's just jump right into it then. First up, the IRCA cars are finally getting a refresh. This is exciting news, but what does this mean for somebody who's been racing the older model?
Well, the old ICA car is gone. It's out of here. It's being completely replaced by fully licensed models. So this is a big deal for this series. The new cars, they're going to handle completely differently. iRacing has built a brand new physics model based on real-world data.
So if you've mastered the old car, you might be in for a bit of a surprise.
Exactly. Yeah, and for those who own the old car, iRacing is giving out credits based on how long you've owned it. It's kind of neat. It's almost like they're creating this little collector's market inside the sim.
Well, that's interesting. It'll be fun to see how that plays out. Speaking of cars getting some love, the Legends Ford 34C is getting a refresh as well.
Yeah, even the base content's getting some attention here. Updated physics and a fresh coat of paint should make it feel like a brand new car.
All right, let's talk about those GTP and LMP2 cars. Remember that tire model update last season? Seemed like a lot of people were struggling with the grip.
Yeah, that update didn't quite land as they intended. Too much grip, particularly in high-speed corners. And also that hybrid system wasn't really mirroring how the real cars perform.
So what's the plan to fix it?
So they're tackling this in two phases. Phase 1, which is coming with this Season 2 update, is all about the tires. They're rebuilding the tire model from the ground up, using real-world data, and they're even working with pro drivers to get this right.
Wow, that sounds pretty intense. How is that going to change the driving experience?
Yeah.
These new tires are going to be a lot more realistic, which also means they might be a little bit more challenging to handle. Think about how cold tires behave in real life. That initial lack of grip before they warm up. That's kind of what they're going for with this update.
So no more diving into corners right out of the pits.
You might want to take it a little bit easier until those tires are up to temp. Otherwise, you could be in for a spin.
Okay, got to practice those out laps. What about Phase 2?
Phase 2, that's coming in Season 3. And that's when they're tackling that hybrid system. They're completely overhauling it to match the real-world car designs and rules. It's a big undertaking, but it shows their dedication to getting the details right.
I like that. All right, now for something completely new, Portland International Raceway is joining the iRacing family. What can you tell us about this track?
Yeah, Portland. So it's almost a 2-mile road course, has a couple different configurations, so it'll be interesting to see how iRacing utilizes those. And it's got a rich history in real-world racing, It's hosted everything from NASCAR and IndyCar to Trans Am and even the RCA series we were just talking about.
So this isn't just some random track they pulled out of a hat.
No, not at all. This is a track with some real pedigree. Plus, it's got a cool blend of high-speed sections, technical corners, and elevation changes. It's going to be a blast to drive.
Oh, I can't wait to see this in action.
Okay.
Now, behind the scenes, iRacing has been quietly working on updating some of their older tracks. What's the latest on that front?
Yeah, they've actually ramped up their efforts in a big way. They've got a team of over 50 artists dedicated to bringing these older tracks up to modern standards. For Season 2, they're focusing on several NASCAR tracks, like Bristol, Darlington, Dover, Homestead, Kansas, Vegas, and they're even giving Iowa a fresh repave.
Whoa, that is a lot of tracks. What are they doing to improve them exactly?
Well, it's all about bringing them up to date visually. So think like higher resolution textures, more detailed environments, and overall better accuracy. You know how some of the older tracks look a little dated?
Oh, yeah.
These updates are going to breathe some new life into them. And it's not just a one-time thing either. They're going to continue updating tracks in future seasons, eventually moving on to road courses and other racing disciplines as well.
This sounds like it's all tied into the new graphics engine we've been hearing whispers about.
That's right. iRacing is basically laying the foundation for a visual revolution. By updating the tracks, now they're ensuring that everything will look absolutely stunning when that new engine finally arrives.
Ooh, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about it. Speaking of visual upgrades, Season 2 is bringing 3D curbs to a bunch of tracks.
Yeah. Tracks like Jerez Aragon Sandown, VIR, Winton Red Skogan, and Hockenheim are all getting the 3D curb treatment. And they're even considering adding them to Barcelona and Road America, which would be amazing.
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. How do you think 3D curbs change the way people drive?
Ooh, that's a great question. It definitely adds a new layer of realism and challenge. You can't just ride those curbs like you could with the old flat ones. You have to be more precise, more mindful of your car placement. I think it's going to be interesting to see how drivers adapt.
Yeah. Do you think it'll make people more cautious, or will some drivers find ways to use those 3D curbs to their advantage?
I think we'll see a little bit of both.
Hmm.
Some drivers will definitely be more cautious, especially at first, while others will try to find those little bumps and edges that they can use to gain an advantage.
All right, let's shift gears and talk about all the new features coming to Season 2. First up, we have Debris Refresh Phase 2. What's new with the debris this time around?
Well, this is all about making the debris look and behave more realistically. So they're improving the rendering the way it moves around the track. And get this, they're introducing local debris cautions.
Wait, what? Explain that one to me.
So instead of just seeing debris on the track and hoping you avoid it, you'll actually get warnings about debris in specific sections of the track.
So it's like mini yellow flags for just parts of the track.
Exactly. For now, they're just informative. But it could hint at something bigger down the road. Maybe even expanded caution support for road courses in the future.
Oh, that would be a game changer. Okay, what else is on the list of features?
Well, we've all been in a race where someone with a bad internet connection is bouncing all over the track.
Don't remind me. So frustrating.
Right. So to combat that, they're introducing what they call the connection flag system. So this is designed to automatically detect racers with network issues and pull them into the pits.
Oh, that's a brilliant solution. That's going to make racing so much fairer for everyone. What else have they got cooking?
Okay, this next one is still a little bit of a mystery, but if it makes it into season 2, it's going to be huge. They're working on what they're calling adaptive AI. So imagine this, you're racing against AI opponents, but instead of them being stuck at one difficulty level, their skill level actually adapts to yours.
So if you're a pro, the AI will be super challenging. But if you're a beginner, it'll be a little more forgiving.
Exactly. It's pretty cool. They're actually taking inspiration from NASCAR Racing 2003 series. That classic racing game known for its challenging AI. It's a testament to iRacing's commitment to learning from the past and pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
I love that they're looking back at classic racing games for inspiration. What else can we expect in this update?
Get ready for a visual treat. Season 2 is introducing a brand new lighting model that's going to make the whole sim look even more incredible.
Okay, I'm intrigued. How's it going to be different?
So they've developed this lighting model alongside their new renderer and sky model, and it's all about enhancing realism and immersion. The way the light interacts with the cars, the tracks, the environments, everything is going to look more natural and believable.
So it's not just about making things brighter.
Not at all. It's about capturing those nuances of light and shadow. It's about making you feel like you're really there on the track, experiencing the race firsthand.
Oh, that's awesome. Now, iRacing is a global phenomenon these days. And to make it even more accessible to racers all over the world, they're expanding language support, right?
Yep. They're starting with Spanish, which is a great first step. It's all about breaking down those language barriers and making iRacing more inclusive for everyone.
I love that. It's a testament to their commitment to growing the iRacing community.
Absolutely. And speaking of making things more accessible, they've also revamped the payment and account management system. It's a small change, but it'll make a big difference in terms of user experience.
Yeah, those quality of life improvements are always appreciated. Now, for a little bit of bad news, the new Sim UI, which was supposed to launch with Season 2, has been delayed. What's the word on that?
Yeah, that was a bit of a bummer to hear. They're saying they need more time to polish it and make sure it's up to their standards.
I respect that. Better to delay it and get it right than to rush something out the door.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about the new UI, though? Why are they even changing it?
Think of it as a complete overhaul. They're not just changing the way it looks, they're rewriting the entire framework from scratch. It's going to be more intuitive, more user-friendly, and it's going to lay the groundwork for all sorts of new features and functionality down the road.
Oh, so it sounds like they're really thinking about the long term with this new UI.
Absolutely. It's all about creating a platform that can evolve and grow with the sim.
Now, before we get too carried away with the future, let's bring it back to the present. What's happening with the special events this season?
Well, the big ones on the horizon are the Bathurst 12 and the Sebring 12 Hour.
Oh man, those are always a blast. Endurance racing at its finest. I'm guessing those updated GTP and LMP2 cars will be featured?
You bet. The Sebring 12 Hour will be a great chance to experience that new tire model and a high-stakes endurance race. It's going to be a real test of driver skill and strategy.
Oh, I can't wait. I'm already feeling the adrenaline. But that's all the time we have for part 1 of our deep dive into the iRacing Season 2 2025 update. We'll be back in part 2 with even more insights and analysis.
Welcome back. So we are just wrapping up the present and moving into the future of iRacing.
Yeah, all that stuff they're working on behind the scenes, the new graphics engine, those V10 tires, a single-player career mode. It's like they're cooking up a whole new iRacing experience.
Yeah, and they haven't forgotten about new cars and tracks either. Remember those Gen 4 cars they teased like a while back? The 2003 era stock cars? Those were almost ready for Season 2.
Yeah, what happened there? Why the delay?
They just need a little bit more time to get them perfect. They were really close, but sometimes those last few details take the longest.
Oh, I can definitely relate to that. Better to wait for a polished product than to rush something out the door. So while we wait for those Gen 4 cars, what other car updates can we look forward to?
Well, both the IndyCar and the NASCAR Cup cars are getting some major updates. They're both going to be running the latest pre-V10 tire model.
Okay, back up a second. What does pre-V10 even mean?
Think of it this way. Tire technology in racing is constantly evolving. V10 tires represent a specific era of tire construction and performance. So these updates to the IndyCar and Cup cars basically bring them in line with the tire tech that was being used before V10s came along.
Ah, okay. So it's all about getting the cars as close to their real-world counterparts as possible.
Exactly. Yeah, they're also tweaking the aerodynamics of both cars, making some subtle adjustments to how the air flows over the car. These refinements can have a big impact on handling and overall performance.
Oh, cool. And they're working on a new Ferrari, right? Anything you can share about that one?
All I can say is get ready to be impressed. They're really pushing the limits with this one, not just in terms of physics and graphics, but audio as well. Imagine hearing that Ferrari engine roar to life with the new audio tech they're developing.
Yeah, for Kate chills. All right, let's talk tracks. Adelaide was a big one they announced. What makes that track so special?
Well, for starters, it's a street circuit. And scanning a street circuit is way more complicated than scanning a permanent track. They have to deal with traffic, pedestrians, all sorts of logistical hurdles.
So kudos to the iRacing team for pulling it off.
Absolutely. But beyond those logistical challenges, Adelaide is just an amazing track to drive. It's got a bit of everything high-speed sections, tight corners, elevation changes, and it's steeped in racing history. This was a Formula One track for years, so it's seen some epic battles.
I can't wait to add this to my list of tracks to master. And then there's the Miami International Autodrome, which is a relatively new track in the real world.
Yeah, this one is still in development, but it's coming along nicely. They're already using prototype versions of the track for testing and development.
What are some of the challenges they're facing with this track? I imagine it's pretty complex with all the elevation changes and that crazy fake marina section.
Oh, it's definitely a unique track, and capturing all those details accurately is crucial. They want to make sure the sim version feels just like the real thing.
Okay, and finally we have the Autodromo Hermanos Rodriguez, another track with a ton of history.
Yeah, this is a classic track. It's hosted both Formula One and NASCAR races, so it's got a special place in motorsports history.
What makes it a challenging track to drive?
Well, it's a high-altitude track, which means the air is thinner. That has a big impact on car performance. Less air means less downforce, so the cars are a bit more slippery. It also has a really long straight where cars can reach some incredibly high speeds. And then it's followed by a tight technical section, so it's a track that really tests a driver's skill and bravery.
So lots of exciting new tracks on the horizon, but let's not forget about those special events we talked about earlier, the Bathurst 12 and the Sebring 12 hour.
Oh yeah, those are always a highlight of the iRacing calendar. And with all the new content coming in Season 2, these events are going to be even more special.
Yeah, imagine racing those new GTP and LMP2 cars with the updated tire models at Sebring. That's going to be a true test of endurance and strategy.
Absolutely, and let's not forget the spectacle of Bathurst. That mountain is a beast. Racing there at night under the lights is an experience like no other.
So if you're looking for a challenge, those special events are calling your name.
Yeah.
Now, we've talked a lot about the new content and features coming in Season 2, but what does all of this mean for the future of iRacing? Where do they go from here? We'll tackle those big questions in Part 3. All right, so welcome back to the final part of our deep dive into iRacing's Season 2 2025 update. We've covered a lot of ground here, new cars, tracks, tons of features, but now it's time to look ahead.
Yeah, the big question, what does it all mean?
What does this update tell us about the future of iRacing and really sim racing as a whole?
Well, I think the biggest takeaway for me is iRacing is really doubling down on realism.
Yeah, for sure. You see that with the tire model, updates the track, revamps, even that new lighting system.
They're not just throwing in new content just to have more stuff.
Right, it's very intentional.
Yeah, they're laser focused on making the sim as close to real-world racing as possible.
which is huge for the future of sim racing, in my opinion.
Oh, totally. I mean, think about it. As the technology keeps getting better and better, that line between virtual and real racing, it's starting to get really blurry.
Yeah, it's getting harder and harder to tell the difference.
Right, and that opens up so many
The
possibilities.
drivers, teams, fans, everyone.
Yeah, you're already seeing sim racing being used as a training tool by real pro drivers.
And you even have sim racers that are making the jump to real world racing.
Exactly. So iRacing's commitment to realism, it's not just about making the sim more fun.
Right, has real world implications now.
Yeah, it's about making it a legitimate tool for anyone who's serious about motorsports.
Absolutely. And that's just one piece of the puzzle.
Right.
We're also seeing iRacing's commitment to innovation.
For sure. The new graphics engine is a perfect example.
Yeah, they could have just updated their existing engine, made a few tweaks here and there.
Right, but they didn't. They went all out and decided to build a completely new engine from the ground up.
An engine specifically designed for sim racing.
Yeah, and that's going to allow them to do things that were just impossible before.
The level of detail, the immersion, the performance.
It's going to be a whole new level.
And then there's that V10 tire model.
Oh man, they've been working on that for years.
Years.
Countless hours of research and development.
It's got to be the most realistic tire model ever in a sim.
I think so. And they're not stopping there.
Oh no, they're just getting started.
Right, they're exploring all sorts of cutting edge tech, like AI powered features.
Ooh, like what?
I don't know, maybe personalized driver coaching?
Or maybe even a crew chief that can analyze your driving and give you feedback in real time.
Yeah, who knows? The possibilities are pretty much endless at this point.
But it's not just about the technology.
Right.
It's also about the community.
Huge part of it.
iRacing is so focused on building a strong community around the sim,
Definitely. They're always listening to feedback, making improvements.
which is why they've been so successful.
Exactly. They understand that a sim is only as good as the community that supports it.
So what does all this mean for the future of sim racing?
Well, I think it's safe to say the future's looking pretty bright.
It is, with iRacing leading the charge.
Pushing the boundaries, inspiring other developers to step up their game.
We're going to see more realistic sims, more immersive experiences, more innovative features.
And I think sim racing is going to keep growing in popularity.
Oh yeah, attracting new drivers, new fans, new sponsors.
Who knows, maybe one day we'll even see sim racing in the Olympics.
Whoa, now that's a thought.
It might sound crazy, but I mean, look how far it's come already.
Yeah, the rate it's growing at, it's not totally impossible.
It's an exciting time to be a sim racer
It's an exciting time to be a fan of motorsports in general.
because the future is wide open.
And iRacing is leading the way.
So there you have it.
Our deep dive into iRacing's Season 2 2025 update.
Hope you enjoyed it.
Hope you're as excited about the future of sim racing as we are.
It's going to be one heck of a ride.
Until next time, keep those tires warm and those lap times low.